Alright, what's up guys? So in this presentation, I'm going to be going over my client Cameron's transformation. This was a 3-month transformation, and we took him from 130 pounds looking like, your typical dude to 3 months, 150 pounds looking like an absolute stud. The type of dude you wouldn't want alone in a room with your girlfriend for too long. And there's a good chance you guys are wondering, who am I? Who is this guy giving you this information? My name is Jordan. I'm a NASM certified trainer, and I'm just the fitness enthusiast slash nerd who helped Cameron make this transformation. So let's get right into it. So what we're going to cover in this video is going to be 1, how he was able to build consistency. 2, how he trained to put on muscle as fast as possible, because obviously it is not going to be easy to go from 130 pounds to 150 pounds, still relatively lean, in 3 months. So we're also going to cover how he did this without a strict diet. And then 4, most importantly, how you yourself watching this can apply this as well. So hopefully you can make your own transformation. So week 1, how he built consistency. This one is relatively easy, but again, it's very important, so we focused on it week 1. And the reason I have these split into, weeks and month sections is because if we were to implement all of these things at once, a lot of people are going to burn out. They're going to end up not doing any of it at all. So week 1, we focused on consistency. The first thing was just getting in the gym 7 days a week, just finding a way to get in there. Not really worrying about what we're doing while we're in there, whatever you enjoy, go in there and do it, as long as you're in the gym and you're just building that habit. Now, 2, finding exercises he enjoyed, okay? So you're not going to want to go to the gym if the exercises you're doing you don't enjoy. So for the first week, it's not about progress, it's not about putting on a ton of muscle, it's just about building the habit. So we found exercises he enjoyed, so it did not feel like a chore every time he was in the gym. 3, we didn't fixate on results. Like I just said, results are not important week 1. Okay, week 1, maybe even week 2, all that really matters is building the habit of getting into the gym and finding a love for the gym itself, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to continue to do it, and eventually you will burn out and give up. Now, next up, we have how he trained to put on muscle. This is what we worked on weeks 2 through 4, and this is what everybody wants to know, obviously, so let's get right into it. So we built a workout routine, again, one he enjoys, one that's doable. It wasn't any specific split. It was just, what worked for him, what worked with his schedule, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Then we worked on proper form, because form is very important. If you don't have good form, you're not targeting the right muscle groups. Why are you even working out at that point? Unless, you're just there to fuck around and have fun. So 3, we focused on progressive overload. I hope most of you know what this is. I'm sure you guys do. It is one of the most important things when it comes to building muscle. It is the most important thing when it comes to building muscle, just period, point blank. Progressive overload is extremely important. And if you don't know what it is, I'm going to briefly explain it over here on my whiteboard. All right. So as you guys can see, this is what progressive overload would look like in practice. So I'm using bench press as an example because it's a very common exercise. So say the most you could do, or your typical set, is 100 pounds for bench press. And this can go for any movement. Week 2, we're going to up it to 110. And then week 3, we're going to up it to 115. Because if the weight is not going up, then you are simply not making progress. So what this prevents is us staying stagnant at any point and not making progress. Same thing with reps. So week 1, we're doing 12 reps. That means week 2, we're going to up it to 13 reps. And this is if we can't up the weight. If we can up the weight, ideally we'll just up the weight. But if you can't do that, you feel like your form might get worse if you do that, then we are going to up the reps instead. So week 1, we'd be doing 12. Week 2, we would be doing 13. Week 3, we'd be doing 14. And then we'd up the weight once we hit 14, because you should not be doing more than 14 reps. This is essentially, what progressive overload is, simplified, as simple as I can make it. And this goes for every single exercise, by the way. And let me preface, if you were just implementing this, you were just getting started with this, you should not be progressing every week. It should be every workout. that you are upping either the reps or the weight, because you're new to this. You shouldn't be plateauing. So you shouldn't wait a week to up the weight or a week to up your reps. You should be doing it every single exercise. And then as you progress and you get more experience with this type of lifting, it'll be realistic to see, weekly progress rather than daily. All right, now that we understand what progressive overload is, I'm going to go over the tip I have right here for you guys, which is don't beat yourself up if you plateau, okay? Progressive overload, you're bound to plateau at some point. So don't beat yourself up about it, okay? It happens to everybody. If you're a natural lifter, you're not on performance-enhancing drugs, you are not going to, it's not going to be linear. You're not going to constantly improve every single time you're in the gym. So don't beat yourself up. Now, the caveat, as you can see right here, is 2 weeks max, okay? If you've plateaued for more than 2 weeks on an exercise, you are doing something wrong, whether it's your training, your diet, your recovery, you're doing something wrong. You need to figure out what it is, and you need to fix it. So let's move on to the next. Next is we stuck to a 12 to 14 rep range max. Okay, there's no need to be doing more than this. Okay, I will say everybody is different. So there are some clients and just some people in general who may need a higher rep range to see results, but typically a 12 to 14 rep range is a good spot for most people. On to the next. We did every set until failure. Okay, I don't want to hear science-based BS. I don't really care what people think. If you are natural, I don't care if you're enhanced or natural, you need to be training to failure, period. You need to be training to failure. You are not making as much progress as you could be if you are not training to failure. And the tip I have for this is it's only failure if you could not do another rep, okay? So if you could have done another one, but it would have been hard, that's not failure. Failure is I literally cannot get another rep out. And since we're doing super high intensity training like that, training every set until failure is not easy. So we're doing low volume to make up for that. If you're a natural lifter, it's almost impossible to be doing, more than 2 sets every set to failure without, burning yourself out. There's just no way. You can't recover from that unless you're on performance enhancing drugs or you're just, a physical phenomenon, So low volume, 1 to 2 sets each exercise. As you guys can see, it's a good spot. 1 to 2 sets. It doesn't take too long in the gym. 12 to 14 reps each to failure. You're in a really good spot if you're doing all of this right here. So on to the next, which is diet. Non-restrictive as well. It wasn't something super strict. He wasn't starving himself. He wasn't doing some crazy keto bullshit or something like that. So month 2 to 3, this is what we focused on. Obviously, we were still paying attention and doing the things that we showed before in the slide, but we're just adding things on as we go so he does not burn out. And I prefer to do this with everybody I work with because it's just the best way to do it. If you throw all this stuff at somebody, they are going to burn out. They are bound to. So months 2 to 3, this is what we worked on. First up, emphasize protein. Obviously, everybody knows this, okay? But 1.5 grams per pound of lean body weight, okay? I don't care. I know the science says 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. Fuck that shit. If you actually want to make the most amount of progress possible, you should be doing 1.5 grams per pound. That's just my opinion. I know some people that do 2 and it works well for them. I know some people that do 1 and it works well for them, but I think you're going to be best off if you stick with 1.5 grams. And this is only effective if you eat enough calories, okay? A lot of people don't understand this, and it took me a long time to learn this as well. It doesn't matter how much protein, you're taking in every day if you're not getting enough calories, because your body has to burn something off while you're in the gym working out. So if you're not eating enough calories, rather than your body burning those calories, it's going to burn protein. That's going to be your body's energy source. And if your body is burning protein for energy, when you're recovering, it's not going to have that protein to rebuild the muscle. So you're doing nothing. You're stuck in the same spot for months, which I'm sure a lot of you guys can understand and relate to. So next up is main gain. Okay? Eat slightly above maintenance calories. So that's what main gaining is. You're eating slightly above your maintenance so that you can get the most out of your gains, but you're also not putting on a ton of fat. So you'll probably put on a little bit of fat, but it won't be too much. If you don't know what your maintenance calories are, you can use a maintenance calorie calculator online to figure out what it would be. And then you're just going to go slightly above that, maybe 100 to 200 calories above that. And then next, fat management. Okay, so if you remain gaining and you are putting on too much fat, you don't like it, we're going to do more cardio. Okay, do more cardio if you start getting fat. If you start getting fat, nobody wants to be fucking fat. So do more cardio. It's really that simple. And you should lean out from that. If not, up your cardio a bit more. But I doubt you guys will even need that. If you're main gaining properly, you're not going to put on an excess amount of fat. So that was the diet. Next up, we have how you can implement this. Okay, so this is probably what you guys are here for. You know, you want to know how you can make that same 3-month transformation. So option 1 is figure it out on your own. Okay, now there are some downsides to this. It will take longer than option 2, which we'll cover in a minute. You're bound to make more mistakes and waste time, because implementing all of that stuff, if you've never done it before, is going to take time. It's going to take time learning it. It's going to take time making mistakes, and that's just how it's going to be. And you risk no results at all, because there's a good chance that you are going to burn out if you try to implement all of that by yourself, which, I mean, I'm sure some of you won't. And if that's the route you want to take, go ahead. Now, obviously there are pros. The only pro is it does not cost money, okay? It is free to implement all of this information on your own. So if you guys want to do that, go ahead and do it. Now, option 2. No, I don't want to be too biased, but this is the one I prefer, is apply to work one-to-one with me, okay? So you will get guaranteed results if you stick to the program. That's just, what it is. I have a money-back guarantee because I truly believe that. You are going to see results faster than if you did this alone. That is facts. I have not worked with hundreds of clients, but I've worked with enough to understand that I can help you achieve this faster than you would be able to by yourself. And, it just is what it is. Success clarity as well. You're not going to procrastinate and burn out because you have that success clarity. You are working with someone who has helped people achieve this. So you don't have to be nervous about whether it's going to work or not. You understand that if you stick to the program, you are going to see results. And that is what I call success clarity. Now, obviously there are cons as well. I'm not going to toot my own horn too much. The con is it costs money, okay? It is not free, but if you are willing to invest in yourself, we'll go on to the next slide, which is pricing. And you guys definitely should stay for this part because you're going to be surprised on what pricing looks like. So for a strategy call, which is 30 minutes, we hop on a Zoom call. We work on anything you want for 30 minutes, whether it's your diet. We'll write you out a whole new meal plan. Whether it's your training, we'll put together a whole new routine. Whatever it is you want to work on, this is the call for that. It is $10 for 30 minutes to work on whatever it is you want to work on. Next, one-to-one coaching. Now, this is obviously better. There are some downsides to the strategy call. You're bound to run into errors that you're going to have to figure out either by yourself or get on another strategy call. So one-to-one coaching is what I recommend. It is $25 per week for the next 10 people. So the next 10 people who come from this video and decide to work with me, they decide to invest into themselves, I'm going to be doing $25 per week, cancel anytime. For everyone else, after those 10 people, it is going to be $50 per week. Again, cancel anytime. So if this is something that interests you, I'm going to have 2 links in the bottom of this video, one for the strategy call and one for one-to-one coaching. You guys can just click on that, fill it out. This video had a lot of stuff in it. I ran through it relatively fast, but I hope you guys get some sort of value from this, and I look forward to working with some of you guys.